Tabletops will start after the following messages.
Are you looking for something comfortable to wear and keep your brain warm while playing tabletop games? Daily Dose of Yarn makes handmade, customized beanies for all of your style and comfort needs. She can even help you with a custom beanie to represent your favorite character. Check out Daily Dose of Yarn on Instagram and Etsy to order your new favorite beanie today.
Do you like nerdy stuff? Of course you do. Want to see someone make that stuff, but smaller? Sculpting Minis, tabletop terrain, props, puppets, and tutorials, a crafting channel for all things nerdy. Join me over on YouTube at Niche Crafts, where I make stuff about stuff.
Welcome to Auria, a country that is renowned for research and progress, a country that prides itself on its advancements and achievements, that opens doors to futures that would otherwise remain closed to its populace of diverse and charming people. However, some say that some doors may be better left unopened. When four strangers encounter a rogue automaton, they unknowingly begin to unravel tightly kept secrets about their worlds. Armed with little true knowledge, but unfathomable curiosity, these four strangers reach out into the unknown. But will they come back from this perilous journey holding the truth? Or will they be holding on to the reality they think they know? Join Ivy, Varys, Alara, and Ziva as they dig into the secrets of Auria and what lies beyond the edge. We are the Rainbow Dice Club, a 5e actual play podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Rainbow Dice Club to keep up with all our adventures.
Hey, I'm Brando.
And I'm Owen.
And we're the hosts of Banter and Such.
Each week we get together with the most interesting people that we know and talk about the things that we're generally interested in.
Like movies.
TV shows.
Movies.
Nostalgic childhood franchises.
Movies.
Urban legends.
And sometimes movies.
So check out Banter and Such anywhere you get podcasts.
Banter, ampersand, such.
Or banter and then the word and then such.
Or just banter and it fills in the rest automatically for you and you just click on it.
Either way, it's called Banter and Such.
Want to get into some BS with us?
Three, two, one. Oh,
God, you guys are nailing those.
Killed it.
Woo!
We're so good at clapping.
You found your thing.
Yes. We're the clap boys.
The clap boys.
Don't get the clap.
Sorry, yeah, that's
Clap
what it sounds
boys,
like.
bringing the clap to you.
And we have our cold open. Welcome back to Tabletops, everybody. Happy New Year. We are starting the new year by talking about how to play and how to DMs for new players / DMs. So if you want to run a game or if you want to be in a game for the first time, it's your New Year's resolution. Hopefully we can help you out a little bit. Today's episode, we are just talking about how to be a player for your first time, how to approach a game, how to write your backstory, what you should prepare. And with me, I have the three best people I could imagine to help with that. Why don't we go around and introduce ourselves?
Hi, this is Franco, and I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, so I will recuse myself from this conversation.
Hi, it's Shade. Can we just take a minute to talk about just that awful thing that happened at the end of the year?
Shade, if that's a called shot, that would be the worst.
I know.
That would suck so bad.
I really
Dear
hope it
listener,
doesn't
we're
happen.
actually recording a little bit before the new year.
event.
So
Yeah, we're recording, but this is
before the event.
pre-event.
This is pre
Event.
yeah, singularity, whatever happens.
And hi, I'm Daniel. No follow-up.
Man, Daniel, you've really changed since whatever it was that happened.
Right, ever since that thing that happened.
Man, I miss that place that was completely wiped off the map.
I mean, I miss clouds. Remember
Yeah,
clouds?
man, clouds and birds.
Oh God,
Wow.
birds! I forgot
I
about
miss
them.
birds.
It's only been a week.
Yeah,
Forgot about birds. Well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Man,
they
I lost
do
this part of
That's
it.
why we need to talk about it.
we need to record it so that future selves in another week will remember.
And that's how you build your first backstory.
So if for whatever reason you're a new player and you're using our dumb advice to plan out your first sessions as a player, welcome. We're gonna start today, I think, where we all should start, the player creation. Do you think that players should start making their characters on their own? Should they wait till a session 0? Should they talk to the DM and just write something? What do you think?
So I think the session 0 would be the best place, I think, to start, because you kind of want to know what everyone else is doing. You don't want to be like going off the rails. But you should, if you can't wait until the session 0, because some DMs want you to go ahead and have an idea, you should definitely at least wait until your DM gives you sort of the introduction email, or like the
parameters of
like, here's what we're doing, here's the world we're going to be in, here's sort of the information about the setting and what's going on globally. That way everyone's kind of thinking along the same lines.
Right.
So they'll tell you about the events.
Yeah.
The event.
That you may have already forgotten about.
Right.
So you should tell them about the event so that they can build their character around that. It's like, don't make them be like a bird watcher. Like, they're not going to be able to see any of them.
Right, exactly.
All right. You don't want people making a character.
Daniel
Someone has to keep us going forward.
Daniel had such a look of blank disgust on his face.
All
I'm
right.
so mad. I'm
Sorry,
sorry,
Daniel. I'm sorry. No, please continue.
Please continue.
Oh, God, this is what a great way to start the new year, with a new calendar, with a new landscape, with a new oxygen content in the air.
So, to Daniel's point, yeah, you do need to hear what the world is about. I mean, you can create character types in advance, but it always helps to make sure that your character is going to mesh well with the DM.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Daniel is interesting because when I had my first session, I sort of came up with it not in a session 0. I don't even really know if we did a session 0, because it was sort of like you cobbling together a bunch of folks that had never really even thought about it.
Are you talking about the Canaries?
Yeah, Canaries. Yeah. Like, we had our session 0 where we talked about like the general idea of it at the Canaries, like the restaurant we went to.
Yeah.
But we started our first session with characters built, and I think that it still worked fine. Like, we still had
But to be fair, like, the conceit for that campaign was you all join a guild from
Right.
wherever you want to come from. You didn't really need sort of like a theme or an overarching banner for everyone to join under. It was like you just need a job, and this guild's going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So be whoever or whatever you want to be, which is also fine for like a lot of.
Yeah, I
games
would
as they
actually
start.
say, because like I've heard a lot of people online talking about joining like an online game, like they either pay to be online or they're kind of randos like looking for a group sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I would say that if that is the case and you can't talk to the DM before, you don't know the DM before the first session, and you can't get a basic idea of how you can fit yourself neatly into the world, that is the best way to do it, is to say, okay, my character is a level 1 person. That means that they are just above the common farmer, blacksmith, whatever. So with that in mind, have like a backstory or personality that is like services, mostly a play style and how you want to interact with the group.
You bring up like a good point, and I think the less information you have from the DM about his world, the less information you should bring about your character's backstory.
Totally. Yeah.
A couple of bullet points of what makes you special, what makes you an adventurer.
Yeah.
Like, why are you not happy to just be at home learning profession?
Why are you down to clown?
Like 2 or 3 sort of like generic traits would be great if you don't have that DM sort of, here's what we're building into.
Yeah.
Just like a class background is fine too. And then by that, I mean like a socioeconomic class background as well. Like where you're just like, like if you literally have no information from the DM, just being like, like, I don't know, my dad's a merchant or something, or like I grew up, or I was like very poor on the streets or something like that. And like, that's why I'm an adventurer, because I want
you could be, I'm a first year Magic Academy student, and I don't have tuition for next year, so I'm taking that gap year.
And then they're like, there's no Magic Academies in my world. Why didn't you read the thing? Oh, I didn't send it. It's still in drafts.
But I will say that one thing that made me think of, Franco, is also when you are a new player going into maybe your first campaign, or a campaign you haven't played for a very long time and you're nervous about it, really consider your actual character class too, because if this situation where you don't know the DM, you're kind of going in blind, maybe stay away. In my opinion, I would stay away from clerics. I would stay away from warlocks. I would stay away from certain things that require a plot hook that's specific to a world, like a specific god or a warlock's patron or something like that. I would say like maybe, go to something that requires less input from the DM unless you're feeling really confident in a character you want to play and can talk to the DM beforehand. Do you guys agree?
I do agree. And I would want to bring up this question too. When you're making a character and it's your first time, do you start with who your character is as a person? Or do you start with what class do I want to play as?
I want to answer.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm trying to think like historically. I think I originally, when I played in your campaign, Daniel, your first campaign, I picked a paladin. I think because it seemed like the easiest thing to play as. And then in other times I have started with what class I want to play. And like thinking about like, oh, what's the new experience I want to have? Like, how do I want to play the game in a new way? And I think that's usually how I come to the table with it, rather than like thinking of like, oh, I want to be like this type of person. And that's just not me. It's just not how I think of it.
So as somebody who's like, I think a slightly different type of player than you, I think that we kind of have a Venn diagram where we overlap. And I think that second thing you said, where you kind of thought about what class do I want to play? What kind of experience do I want to have? That I think is what you should go into your character creation starting with. Like if you're like, I want to be talking at the table all the time. I want to be RPing. I want to have like a lot of skills or whatever. Go with an expert class, go with a bard, go with a rogue, go with something that you can roll and usually do okay with skills, and that has a lot of like, fun RPing stuff. If like built in already for a first time player. If you're somebody who's like, I just want to sit back, I really love wargaming and I want to be somebody who's like really tactical, maybe you can go with like a sorcerer, or maybe go with a fighter or something like that, or maybe a monk that has a little bit like key point kind of stuff, little resource stuff that you can spend. But that's going to be, especially if you go like wizard or something like that, you really have to know that your main experience playing is going to be prepping spells, thinking about the utility, casting in these ways that are like very battle map affecting. So that's going to be the thing that you want to really love to do before choosing that class. I think that's the way I would approach it for a new player. Do a little bit of reading about what each class does really well, and then decide what you like to do.
That depends if you're playing in a combat heavy game or going to be in a city game, because you can also play a wizard whose magic can be more sort of tide turning in the world of like compulsion magic or
how dare you undermine me on my podcast.
As I said last year, I will break it. But there's also like how I made Val and Antiborn for Shade's Waterdeep campaign. Is I started with the story of this person, and it was like, okay, so he is a baby that was sold to a devil so that his parents could have wealth and good luck. He was raised in hell. So what would that do to a person, like intrinsically? And obviously I settled on he'd be full of rage and he would be a barbarian. And I worked backwards from character's history and experience to what class would most likely fit a person's experiences like that, which is also a fun way of letting like just sort of your story guide you towards what you're going to play as, versus starting as what do you want to play as and building a story based on that.
I guess my question there, though, is that, Daniel, you're a very experienced player and have played in a lot of different ways and have DM'd, so you kind of have a really good idea of how the classes
I'm very good at D&D, thank you.
So, like, if you are somebody who doesn't have that wealth of experience, do you still suggest that just because, like, somebody using a backstory? Because, like, my first backstory was, it was for a paladin I had, and I basically made him Batman, and I was like, yeah, his whole family was killed by the angels of death and their souls were stolen from him. So he has been going around the world trying to find those angels and kill them so that he can free his family's souls. And you're like, okay, you're level 1. And I was like, I guess I'm a paladin. And then it turned out what I really like to do was talk and make decisions and be rowdy and make skill checks.
You know what's hilarious?
Which caused me
I forgot about that backstory. I only remember Roland's speeches.
Yes, Roland's like first thing I was like, he gets up on a cart and is like, everybody get inside, there's something dangerous coming, he's gonna protect the town. And I rolled badly and I fell off the cart into some mud and people were like, ha ha ha, clown.
Damn.
Oh, that's what a 1 will get you.
Yeah. So I feel like that for me is like, for somebody who might not have a lot of experience with setting up a character, that it might be full of some pitfalls, but I do appreciate like matching your backstory with your class. Yeah.
But it would have to depend on a person's preference. Like if you write your character story and you have a good like idea of your sense of self, then by all means take that and go through the player's handbook, and that's a good excuse to like look at a bunch of different classes versus just sort of like picking one. And then it's I think it works out as well one way or the other. It just kind of depends on the individual coming into it, what they're comfortable doing.
I mean, I think that this goes back to what we said as far as, have you had a setting or a session 0? How much has the game master actually provided you with? Because if you haven't been provided with the details of the world of the setting, honestly, pick the class, playbook, whatever system you're playing in. Pick the mechanics that you want to play with. And then go from there.
I'd also say as a new player, if you're just coming into it, the old rule of the handbook +1 would be really useful. As
you
have the player's handbook is your source for whatever that, and then one other book to pull from.
Gotcha.
Instead of like choosing to go through the whole like what's the word for a bunch of books?
Catalog. Library, archive.
Man, I can't remember stuff either after the incident.
Right?
The singularity really wiped a lot of...
Well, catalogs don't exist technically anymore. It's now just one book that we all share.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do one, player's handbook +1 because they are the one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Shay, that was very good.
Thank you. I mean, occasionally
really
humor still shines through even after the events.
Or at least we think it's what humor is. The book doesn't go into much detail.
It's really hard to tell. So
limit what you're playing with as a new player, so you don't get overwhelmed and overburdened.
Totally. I think that's good honestly for everyone. We all want these we have these ideas of like, this is what my character is going to accomplish one day, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a shared space, and you need to kind of go in with limited and attainable expectations for all characters.
I would say though that there are definitely situations where you're a first-time player, and maybe if you're a first-time player, you wouldn't be actually listening to the podcast.
No,
well,
please do.
This type of first-time player, which is the type of first-time player that I was, where it's like, hey, this is a thing to do. Do you want to do it? And it's like, yeah, I could do that. Like, what's the advice for that person?
Yeah.
If they're not going to be like, oh, I have these like big heady notions of like what I want to do or whatever, and it's just somebody who's like, hey, my friend wants to run a D&D game, I could try it out. Like, mildly curious.
I think
starter set, play a pre-generated character.
Yeah.
Get your feet wet and go from there.
Or because I think that's exactly right. Pre-generated characters are fantastic. You get to do a lot of great things. I've been doing this for I don't know how long at this point. And I just played
at least since the event.
Yeah.
Time has flattened out. It's always yesterday.
Before the events, some time before the events, we played with Steven, who was in an episode a while back. I played
Steven.
Yeah.
Steven.
I miss Steven and Clouds. Anyway, I was playing in Steven's game for the first time ever. He was doing a little thing for an extra life, and he had done some pre-gen because he wasn't sure who was going to show up for this. And I got to play with this pre-generated character, and that was a lot of fun because it took a lot of onus off of me to be like, okay, this is who this character is. I was just given, this is what the character is, this is what their alignment is, this is at XYZ, and I get to just play with that. And I think that's a great approach. But if the player wants to maybe dip their toes into the waters of creating for themselves, I would sit with them and go, what characters do you like? Like, what fictional characters?
That's so
do you
smart.
like?
Yeah. Like, what are you drawn to in media?
Yeah, you said Batman for your paladin.
Yeah.
What are you drawn to in media who you would like to play as?
Yeah.
I will say very clearly into the microphone for everyone to hear me, hoping that at least one person does not make the mistake I did. Do not make the brooding, like, quiet, angry anti-hero for your first character.
Yeah.
It is so hard to play that character because nobody likes you. You're in no conversations, and if you screw up any of your dice rolls, you basically it's like dissonance within your character. So I would say make a character that is not Batman.
Yeah, I want to bring this up too. So you get Batman and you have your Wolverine. The popular characters are the brooding sort of loners, anti-heroes. They do not work in a collaborative storytelling game.
Right.
They shouldn't work in their own media. I don't know why Wolverine keeps going back to the X-Mansion. He doesn't like anyone there.
Yeah.
He should be living on his own in Canada, but you can't tell that story.
Yeah.
So anti-heroes get forced into group dynamics when someone's writing it. When you're trying to, as a group, tell a story, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't work.
Nothing breaks the veneer of the brooding anti-hero, other people also wanting things.
Yeah.
Other people wanting to play, we're playing, we're doing stuff, right? And the other person is no, that's like a novel, or that's a one person role playing game, which those exist.
But there is a way to get those more serious storylines.
Yeah.
But I would say the way that especially American culture has kind of presented the way that specifically white men should deal with these issues is be quiet, be stoic, and hide all the pain deep down. And that is actually not very fun to play unless you were saying you're writing a novel or something and can tell the other people participating in the story the actual feelings that are happening.
Well, it'd be fun though is to play that type of character, but go in knowing that that dissonance is gonna happen, and just be lean into it.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be pretty fun.
Because that's
a nice little arc.
You can do it, but I agree with you. You shouldn't do it if this is your first time.
Yeah.
If you do want to do it, go in knowing that you can be as stoic as you want, but someone's going to be making fart
puns,
jokes and things like that right next to you. And how are you going to interact with that? You need to, as a team member too, because one thing that I think some new players get into their heads is this is a game, and it doesn't matter if it's D&D or another TTRPG. They hear board game and their natural inclination is, oh, it's competitive. There's some sort of competitive, I need to one-up people. I need to tell my story.
I need more points.
Yeah, I need more points. So don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You do this.
It is collaborative, cooperative, and you really want to take your character and go, I would encourage you to kind of make them an extension of yourself
especially
to
for
a
a first character.
For a first character, because
this is just me with a wig.
Yeah, kind of, because you want to think about, okay, great. If I was in a situation where someone has stolen bread in front of me, how am I actually going to react about that? Am I going to rat them out? Am I going to maybe try and stop them?
I just spent a whole song stealing this bread.
Yes, exactly. And
now this kid wants my bread?
Yeah.
Am I going to give it to him?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
And how am I going to react when inevitably my teammates don't agree with this or that? We have differing opinions. Are you going to attack them or steal their stuff in real life? No, because there are rules, and you're probably a good person if you're listening to this podcast. Actually, I can say that with some confidence. It is hard to determine what's good and bad after the event.
The book is so vague around morality these days.
These days.
Yeah.
It's really helpful though.
Well, this day
right.
that lasts
this is
forever.
The one collapsed day.
Yeah,
right. Yesterday.
Anyway, it's we're idiots. It's going to, you want to have repercussions. You need to understand that your character has repercussions. And that's a big thing that I would encourage just keeping in mind for all first-time players is you're going to get to be a superhero, but that doesn't mean that every decision you make is going to be right. Look at yourself in the context of
just like in real superheroes.
Yeah.
You know what else is also great? That might be fun. If you want to do the brooding anti-hero, but just also play them as part of the group and just let oh god, like you see it's like a trope in anime all the time where like that one character wants to be by themselves, but then the other characters like always just pull and they always go with it. Oh, you know what's great? Brutus and Pixie. You can be the brooding anti-hero, but you gotta have that Pixie that's gonna make you do the stuff that the party wants to do either way.
That's actually
and sort of let yourself be pulled along. Even though your character wouldn't do it, like Franco said, you lean into the dissonance.
Yeah, if you're going to be a shell of a person, you are mostly gonna need another person to fill up the part of you that's like completely hollow. So kind of pairing up with another player.
Just like my codependent marriage, yes.
Yeah.
So
I like my codependent marriage.
I'm in a healthy relationship. I love you, Jackie. So
I think my relationship's healthy.
No, I was just teasing.
We're just really codependent.
Sorry, I was just teasing. So I looked up Pixie and Brutus, which looks like an adorable webcomic.
Do you not know who they are?
I had no idea.
Nobody at this table.
Nobody knows what the hell you're talking about.
What? Really?
That was a
I just gave you all a treat.
Yeah,
that's my new world gift. Enjoy this one memory I brought over from
I'm glad that the internet still exists even without the cloud.
Well, yeah,
we have that one server that exists near the book.
That was
Oh, shit,
that
I
was
just
a
got
real
it.
stupid joke. Oh man. Anyway.
Jesus Christ.
So, I was thinking though, along with that, God of War. I've been playing the God of War games, the new ones, because I don't care about the old ones. Where
old things are bad, new things are good.
That's right.
That's what the book says.
Yeah,
So-
the book is 1 D&D.
Oh, Jesus. But you mostly play as the brooding Kratos, who just says like, boy, things like that. And meanwhile, you've got this very inquisitive son that is with you the entire time, and he's filling out all of that horrible blandness that Kratos can be.
Yeah. That's why I definitely think that, and again, like Daniel said, and Shade said, and Franco said, you can be these characters. And in fact, what my next character, who I'm really excited to do, I want to have as sort of like, a little bit of a miserable old man having a little bit of a brooding side to him, but I'm also it's not my first time.
Yeah,
so
miserable old men is an old man's game.
Yeah, it's an old man's game or an old person's game. But I think that it's a lot more fun actually going back to what we were talking about earlier with pre-gen. Like one of the most fun, easiest times I've had dropping into a character was when Franco, we were play testing your your game that you're developing, and Daniel and I just rolled randomly on the table you provided, came up with a really fun character with like an old profession and like an age and all this kind of stuff and names, and we fell into an immediate dynamic that was a fucking blast to play for like a full hour and a half. We had like weird little jokes and weird little things that came up out of it that just repeated. So I think that you can have, and like, again, we are a bit more experienced, but having all of the choices so that you don't write yourself into any corners, like taken away from you by just pre-genning a character for yourself, can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for limiting your palette in any art.
Yeah.
And I was also going to say that the way that I did the game is like, because it's like sort of an old school revival style game. And basically it's all randomized because in 5e, character creation is a mini game. Like you are basically like, you are filling out so much. It takes so long to make a D&D character.
For real.
It
Even
takes
with D&D
so
Beyond,
long.
it's...
Yeah, I have such a different feeling on that.
It takes so
Well,
long.
no, here's the thing is that it takes a while. It can be really enjoyable enough that you could make one version of every character possible like Shade did.
yeah, like it's not like a not fun game, but it is a separate game.
It can be, yeah. It was much longer in 3.5.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I played a Pathfinder game, and I made a character, and I was like,
Huh?
Yeah. Did you do first edition Pathfinder?
No, I think it was whatever's online.
Second, I think.
The
Is
second is
yeah.
online. Yeah, I haven't done that yet. So
I personally, as someone who plays a lot of TTRPGs, I am so like pushed off from Pathfinder just because of its similarities to D&D already. I feel like I'd be playing the same game twice.
It's it's just kind of like, I don't know.
Another time.
This is a different conversation because
Yeah.
I was like just about to be like, I'm gonna get into an OSR rant.
So, along with all this, limiting your palettes and being mindful of your DM's world and being mindful of repercussions for your characters, I really would recommend for the first time, and this is the rules lawyering asshole that lives inside of me. Read the rules. Just familiarize yourself.
At least with what your
rules.
character can do at that level that they're at.
And the very, very, very basic stuff.
And this is actually an interesting kind of pivot point, which is, I think that when you are going into a game for your first time, you have to be really conscious of what game you are signing up for.
Yeah.
So I think that if you are a new player wanting to get into any TTRPG, I would say all of these things we just talked about when coming up with a character, ask yourself a basic one of what kind of genre do I like to play? What kind of feeling am I looking for? And am I looking for a war game or a role-playing game? And then pick your game based on that. So like if you are heavy role player, don't really care about the mechanics, you want something a little bit more actual play-y, maybe go towards Powered by the Apocalypse or something of that nature, which is a 2d6 system. If you're looking for something that is a war game, maybe you go to like Pathfinder, which is like really crunchy.
For sure. Yeah.
And then if you're looking for something that like you're in the middle and you're like, okay, I kind of want to do a little bit of everything. I still want that grid. I want to move my mini around, but at the same time, I am interested in, role-playing aspects and something that I can, spread my wings in a little bit more, then D&D is probably the one that you'll want to go for.
Sponsored by Wizards.
Exactly.
Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's
that,
okay.
that was longer than I thought
No,
it was gonna be.
it was good. I really liked it. Shit. What was it?
So while you recover that.
Yeah, because when...
No, let's all just wait for the 5 or 10 minutes of dead air and just make Franco think.
I mean, I would, but, since we only have 1 hour of electricity a day, we have to keep moving.
Yeah. So the...
Oh, I remember. I was just gonna say, just a general like gameplay tip. If you haven't had the time to read all the rules, because there's a lot of rules or whatever, and you want to learn them as you go, I would recommend like just say what you want to do.
Yes.
Just say what you want to do.
That's what I was
Oh,
going
you were gonna say that?
Describe your actions, not the mechanical on your character sheet.
Yes.
Yeah,
The answer.
The DM will take care of that.
The DM will take care of it. Do not just tell me what you do.
Yeah, especially if you are somebody who's looking more into, a role-playing experience and you are someone who's like not had an interest in finding the rules and stuff like that, then most of the time you're going to be doing that anyway. Yeah. And most games are built so that somebody can say that and the DM can then say, all right, roll me a X or whatever. And it can be a little bit more in a rules light way.
And if you have a really good DM, they'll also not make you roll for literally everything.
Yeah.
Like there's like some things you just do it. Like roll. You just do it. Like,
roll less.
Yeah.
Roll
Smile
less.
more.
Smile more.
I mean, but because I was, like I said, I was the rule lawyering asshole that says, read the rules, but you can read the rules forever and you're still going to forget things. I cannot tell you how often.
Most of our games are people being like, wait, what? How does this work?
Yeah.
Post the spell in the chat so we can all read it.
Yep. And
it's usually spells.
It's
that's fine.
Spells, yeah.
Nobody reads spells.
Yeah. So,
everyone reads the headline of a spell and go, oh, this says sleep. I'm going to just put them to sleep. Well, there's an HD element and a bunch of other stuff. You have to read the whole thing.
Yeah,
which is why we do it as a group.
And this is a thing to also like, so we've been sort of prefacing this with, I don't know what my DM is like, or I don't know who my DM is. If you do, the best thing you can do is say, what kind of game do you want to run? What is your feelings on this? If they're playing a really rules light game, then, all that stuff I said about wizards being like a battle technician kind of thing, it kind of goes out the window. You can use spells in a really freeform way, and that's really great.
I remember when I first started that Pathfinder game, somebody, like, it was like a lot of strangers from like a community Discord, and we all just met in person. And one of them asked a really great question, which was, how serious do we want to be?
Yeah.
Because I'm here to like be silly and stuff. You know, like, is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
And I think like tone is also important to understand from the DM as well. Where if like the DM is like, no, this is all very serious, which is like, I don't think I've ever.
I don't think anyone's ever played an all serious D&D.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
But the other thing is, and Shay, that you've also been wanting to say something, so I want to get to that.
Please.
But I really think that if you have just one question you can ask your DM, something like that, or what genre is this? Like, if it's grimdark, then you're going to be like, okay, I immediately know what kind of thing we're dealing with. If it is rom-com, then okay, great. If it's Western, if it's high fantasy, all of these have tropes that you already can kind of lean on a little bit in your character creation and how you play. So I think, the two
dating sim.
Yeah, the two questions I would ask is, what's the genre and how serious are we going to be? Because I think that that's a really great way to get a general idea.
And I would say that you really just want to be asking questions constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. That's what the game is. It's about communication. Your game master should be your best friend.
Yeah.
It's cool if you want to
be your cheerleader.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They should be the biggest fans of your character.
Exactly. And you want, maybe you have this thing that you want to be a surprise for people for the story. Like, this is going to be a big pivotal moment for your character. You hope one day, like, they've got a backstory element that you want to kind of like, oh my gosh, and grip people with and hook them on. That's cool. You know who really should not be surprised by that? Your DM. That can't work. They need to know everything about your character. Don't go hiding information from your DM.
You can't surprise the DM. It doesn't work. If they don't know about it, it's not real.
Yeah, go back.
The DM is not your opponent. They are the world.
Yeah. And that is, I think that we should also now kind of shift a little bit into the things to look out for in a bad game that you might want to leave if you are a new player, because I think that's
a good idea.
Because I know a lot of people who have been in like a game for like 4 months and they're like, I'm not having fun yet because this kind of sucks, and you're like, oh, that's a bad game, you should leave. Especially if you don't know the GM. These things are hard to track sometimes, so let's talk a little bit about different signs to look out for.
Red flag number 1 from old Fausty. If the DM constantly wants to nerf your player's abilities, that's a bad sign. Because if they allowed you to play it, then you should be playing it as it is. And I mean, like, if you work it out ahead of time, like, this is too much, we're going to tweak that. I mean, when you do something and go, okay, well, that's not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
That's a bad DM. Get away from that table.
Yeah. It can happen sometimes, and there are exceptions to that. But if it happens repeatedly and it's constantly a source of arguments, and you have an outside of game conversation about it and no resolution happens, you don't owe them more than that.
Yeah, but there are two different ways that you'll see this. One is I kill this like really huge warlock we found in the middle of the woods that we've been building up to in one turn because I'm like a crazy badass or whatever, and I know like some crazy thing that I did. And then the DM says, oh, okay, that doesn't work. No, we're not doing that. Like, he's still alive. You can't do that. That's like not in the rules or whatever. That is a bad red flag. A good thing is like if a DM is like, man, I'm writing this and nothing is working anymore. I have to find a way to get rid of some of these magical items. I have to like restructure a little bit. Maybe that's a talk outside of the actual session of, hey, everyone, this is becoming very hard for me to challenge you guys. I'm going to take like these abilities and like turn them down a notch or whatever. Then I think that, that is totally fine. That's not a bad DM. That's somebody who is trying to communicate with you what's happening.
I gave a slightly too powerful item to one of my players, and we actually, as we were playing, realized that it was broken and all worked together to nerf it a little bit.
Yeah, patch notes are fine.
Yeah.
Just telling your players they can't do their
Yes.
features because they're winning,
especially
is
if
bad.
especially if it is actually rules as written. Like this is how it works.
Especially if it's Steven Chuka destroying every fucking villain I've ever put in front of him.
God, I miss Steven and Clouds.
God, man. Well, he is kind of a cloud now. Anyway.
Well, he is the cloud.
But what another red flag that I would say is if you're seeing the DM basically write a main character slot for one of the characters at the table, then that is, and you're feeling like a little bit on the outside of like, I'm not involved in this at all. And that is something that persists, but sometimes a character is going to be highlighted and that's
there's
fine.
going to be arcs.
Yeah. But if this is something where you're like, oh, like the God Fiend comes down, but it turns out one character was told the name of the God Fiend and is able to then ride the God Fiend around the world and do whatever as the hero is supposed to, then maybe take a step back and say, like, do I want to be the best friend character or whatever that doesn't do anything? Maybe not.
I had a game in college where the DM and one of the players were best friends, having grown up together, and me and there was 3 players and a DM, and me and the other player would often just be sitting having our own conversations for 2 or 3 hours at a time, while that other DM and player literally just had their own adventure and went on. And it was also set up where if we tried to do something, you can't do that, but I would say, Jack, you have a skill that would let you do like. Talk to this person.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, you're gonna give the thing that I tried to do to the other player and let them roll for it. Okay. I'll sit back. So watch out for main character symptoms when a DM is favoring someone, and also if you're at a game with a player who wants to like antagonize the party.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to use Critical Role as an example. Like right now, they have this thing where 2 of the characters are pickpocketing each other back and forth as a goof.
Yeah.
But if you're playing in a game where like there's a player who's like, I'm gonna pickpocket because I want that ring, I want that dagger that they have, and the DM's allowing them to like steal from the other players and like hide things.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, that's
it
has to
play it open.
Consent's
you
important.
gotta play it open.
Yeah.
Like Bill stole a bunch of shit from people, and then always they would, in some horrible fashion that disserviced Bill in the end, would get it back, which is totally fine if that's the part of the character you want to play.
I mean, like I said, for you, the player, you should come with your character expecting repercussions for bad things, and if the DM's not providing those repercussions for things that are obviously bad, that's a bad game.
The other thing I would say is, and this isn't DM focused, this is other player focused. If everyone at the table seems to be playing a different type of game than the one that you want to play, there is no reason to stay. You are doing everyone a favor if everyone is wargaming and you just want to do goofs all the time, to be like, hey guys, this really isn't for me. I think I'm going to step out. Or maybe you talk to the DM and be like, hey, maybe you can kill my character in a really cool way that moves the story along or something like that. Like,
doesn't have to be all dramatic.
Yeah, it doesn't
just
have
be like,
to be
this is just, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I had players who were together romantically and then broke up.
Ooh. Drama.
And
drop that goss.
They
name names.
Nope, absolutely not. And one of them decided that they were not going to continue with the game anymore.
Yeah.
And that sucked, honestly, for all of us. But
because you actually like the other one better.
No, nothing like that. It just you could tell that like
dynamic.
It did change the dynamic a little bit, but there was also tension, and it was the right move.
Yeah.
You should never put the game ahead of your own self.
Yeah.
And that goes for everyone at the table, whether it's the game master or a player. It's a social thing, and if you're not having fun in a social way, it's not the place for you.
That's another thing, which is a slightly related red flag. If you don't like the people in the game with you, like if you just don't align, as people, and they're saying things that make you uncomfortable, or they're not being respectful, or whatever, they're
just
super
like boring.
Yeah, or they're just, dull as shit. They are blank slates that never have any writing on them. Then
Holy
maybe
shit. It's meaner than
then maybe just decide to step out. And again, that is not a problem. Like, there are there are so many different services now in the world where you can find a group online and try it out. There's local game stores that would love to have you come in and sit down at the table and give it a whirl.
Yep.
There are friends who you could, beg, borrow, and steal to get into a one-off D&D game so that you can see if people like it. There are options that don't require you to suffer through something you don't like just to play a game you might be interested in.
Yep. And, the worst thing about it is it may turn you off from the game forever. You have a bad experience and you just decide, nope, this is how everyone who plays that game might be. I know I've certainly been, I've been in a fair share of playing with random people experiences on a variety of different types of games. And you hear a lot about some of these random players, and sometimes that's true. But that does not make all of them. And you just need to find the group that's for you.
I think that was my first experience too, is like, I didn't fully write off D&D. It was technically Pathfinder at the time. But I definitely felt like, wow, I hated this. Like the first couple of times I played TTRPGs with the same DM, and I was just like, wow, I just don't like this at all. And then I started playing with Daniel, and I was like, I like this game. I really hate D&D's rules, and I'm just that's just me. That's my own hang up. And it just took me a long time to like understand the rules, and now like I get it and I run my own games. But I think those first two experiences were just like, wow, this was not. It's like, is this how the game is supposed to be? Like I just didn't like it. I didn't vibe with it. I didn't like how the DM was DMing it. But yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking about what you guys have just said, and this is like it might be a good advice, but I'd like everyone chime in.
Happy to correct you.
If you're a first-time player, no experience in D&D, maybe seek out one-shots and not try to like join a campaign.
Yeah, I agree with
that could give you a chance to try out a couple of different classes, a couple different characters. And you get a feel for different groups, so you're not making all of your decisions based on
different games.
Experience.
Like if you're like, I just really love TTRPGs. Like I love actual plays. I love like reading about all of them online. If you're like that sort of person, I was that person before I played for my first time, just because I didn't really have access to a group or anything. Then just try all of them out. There are so many really cheap books out there or free books. There are, one pagers on Twitter that you can download. Like one was like halflings and potatoes that you're trying to get more potatoes so you can hibernate and not go on a world-changing quest. But like the other side of it is like you keep getting pulled away deeper into a world-changing quest and you're trying to balance those two things.
I want to play that so badly.
Is that one of those that's like one of those one pagers by that one person? Yeah, they make a lot of those games.
They're so fun.
I miss them. And clouds.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss
so many
paper,
of those games.
I miss paper.
Yeah.
Paper. It's weird though because I don't. What is it? Vellum for the book?
Yeah, I don't remember.
It must be.
Yeah.
It's very. It is very soft.
It's actually skin.
Oh, you guys got a soft book?
Oh, you're right. That's not a period. It's a nipple.
Yeah, guys. Actually,
absolutely
the book. The
I'm
books.
breaking kayfabe. I'm leaving.
Sorry.
The book's eye has opened. What looks like Stephen clouds are rolling in. I think it's time for us to head out. What is our final word of advice to a new player? Mine is welcome. It's a great community. Get involved with it. All of the more people that you meet in the community, the wider your sort of like experience will be, and you will find people you want to play with. So that's my advice.
Mine is
whoa, hey, whoa.
Oh no, there's one voice now too.
Mine is like, don't overcommit too fast. Try different things. Get like as much experience as you can before you like do anything long term.
Like dating.
Yeah.
Just like dating.
I think it's really great if you can join a group and then you immediately have a nice time with the people, even if you're not understanding. Like if you like the people, I think that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
Like that can be helpful because then everyone can help you and like figure it out together. My advice is to join the Tabletop Discord.
Ooh, and find a group there.
My
God!
Because we have a looking for group channel.
Yep.
Come on in, look for a group.
That was expert marketing. Holy shit. All right, Shane, well, what is your advice?
I mean, I'm not going to top that.
Tabletop that.
Tabletopped it. Ooh,
Oh, God.
gosh.
We are nearing the end.
I will say just go in for your own fun. Always do everything for your own entertainment, and if that entertainment is harmful to others, that's not good fun. So stop that. That's my advice.
Be a good person.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
That's our advice.
But
do good things.
Yeah, and let's go around one table with one time around the table with a TTRPG that you'd suggest someone to jump into playing for the first time. Mine, 10 Candles, super fun.
Jesus.
One night. It is, you can learn it in a day. It is a very specific genre and you have to be into, but as a kid, I would have fucking loved that.
Very dark genre. Just really
so dark.
Yeah.
So dark.
Everyone dies.
Everyone dies at the end of it. No matter, you can't stop it.
Oh man, spoilers.
Yeah. No,
that's the central conceit.
I'm the only one who hasn't played it.
The central conceit of the game.
I suggest it because it is a lot of fun. It is a really great way to test out kind of whether you like role playing or not. If you're somebody who really loves actual plays, this is going to be something that simulates that kind of feeling. And it's done in one night. So if you hate it, you can never do it again.
I'm going to say Monster of the Week.
Hell yeah.
If you don't want to do straight to DD. 2d6, super simple to learn. You never.
I got him, boys. I got Daniel in my pocket now. He's a Monster of the Week boy.
There's 5 stats. They control everything. There's there's not a lot to keep up with. And you got like sheets to tell you everything that you can do. Everyone kind of does the same things. And then you've got some specialty options later on. So it's just really easy to pick up, make your own, and go with.
So fun.
My recommendation would have been Monster of the Week, because I think it's great. I think definitely play that first. But if you want to get into a game, and I have to be honest, I haven't played this game, but it's the game that I'm basing my game on. If you want to get into like a Dungeons and Dragons style vibe of like exploring dungeons and like fighting monsters and finding treasure and like doing little, silly things or whatever, I would recommend Knave. Knave is a very, very rules light system, and I am basing my game on it, so I'll put that out somewhere at some point. A lot of people hack it, and so it's also if you have a friend and you want them to like DM something for you, and you're like, hey, have you seen this before? And just be like, if you don't like any of these rules, you can just like tear them up. It's really simple. It's like 4 pages, I think, and there's like level-less spells. And another, I think what was I going to say? Totally blanking. It's great. It's just very simple. The game designer describes all of the rationales for every single rule in it as well. And that's more like a DM tool, but it's very helpful to, understand how to design a game. And you as a player can also kind of understand like, okay, why are we rolling this for this? So I do recommend it.
Cool. And Shade?
So
he's gonna say 5e.
He's not gonna. He's not gonna. That's a big step for you.
That's a big step for you, Shane. I'm so proud of you.
No, I think D&D is great, but I think really this is the weird thing. I'm not going to recommend a TTRPG. I'm going to recommend a CRPG. CRPG is a computer RPG, but it's based around kind of a TTRPG rule set. Just pick one out. Pick one out. Go with like Baldur's Gate or one of those old, D&D second edition verse games, or the Baldur's Gate 3 that's coming out with 5e-ish rules in the near future. That's really fun because you get kind of a TTRPG experience. Or you could do Disco Elysium, which is fantastic. And it's going to kind of give you an understanding for how these games work without that social anxiety of I need to go now play with other people. That's kind of fun. But
it's going to teach you the game of how capitalism is bad.
Which, I miss capitalism. No.
Who would have ever thought?
The event was a good thing.
Yeah, the event was a good thing. Clouds could be gone if capitalism. Anyway.
And birds.
But for real, a really kind of oddball one that I'll recommend. It's completely free, but it's called You Awaken in a Strange Place. It's by Tommy Boy, which is Jacob.
Tommy
Yeah,
boy.
yeah. Jacob, insert last name from Drawfee.
Oh,
And it's a lot of fun. You guys...
I just got into Drawfee.
Yeah, Drawfee's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I recommend that.
Watch Drawfee if you're new to RPGs. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sponsored by Drawfee. But no, you guys, it's that random game that I played with the Mark Wahlbergs underneath the subways of Boston for that one time. You may not have been there.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
It's also a 2d6 system.
Yeah, it is a 2d6 system. It's fully improvised. It's completely free, and I've never not. The great thing about it is you literally pick it up and you're all playing it for like the first time right then and there because it's never the same game twice. So I really recommend that game.
Yeah, and for people who are trying to be players and not DMs, there are a bunch of ones out there that are also just like all players that you can kind of trick your friends into playing.
Yeah.
So do that too. All right, I hope that this helped everybody. I hope you have a great new year post Singularity. And that we can all be players in new campaigns together.
Guys, I see a cloud. They're back.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Tabletop. My name is Nick Perrin. I'm the host here. If you'd like to get in touch with any of us, including me, head to our website, tabletoppod.com. We have a contact form there that goes straight to our personal emails. And everyone, if you could do me a huge favor, if you enjoyed the episode, tell some folks. Go down into your podcast app and write a quick review. I will read any new review that comes in the new year. I promise. Feel free to use that for good or for evil. You can write literally anything, and I will just be forced to read it. So feel free to do that now. If you would also like to share the episode with some of your friends, it is the best way for the podcast to gain new community members. And if you are interested in supporting the show, we do have a Patreon. We have a Discord. All of these things are at our website. Again, that is tabletopod.com. All right, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful week.